Welcome to Unit 1, Earning Income. This is Lesson 1, Ways of Learning Income. So we're talking about what income actually is, and that's the money you receive for working. So you can earn income in different ways, which are dependent on the different types of work that you're actually doing. So here are the different types of income. There are 7 specific types. So the first one we call hourly wage. Okay. So hourly wage, that is considered a fixed payment for every hour that you make. Okay. So again, we'll highlight each hour. So an example would be a store clerk, anybody working at a till, fast food restaurant workers. We would also have students get paid this way, hourly wage. So any student jobs. Okay, so groundskeeper. So if you're working at a golf course and you're a groundskeeper, or if you babysit, okay, any factory workers, if you work at a gas station, those are called gas jockeys, anybody that actually puts gas in your car. So that's what hourly wage is. They make money every hour and they get paid usually every couple weeks or once a month. Then we call the next one, it's called, there's a word missing, it should be called hourly. So hourly wage and tips. Hourly wage plus a varying amount of tips for services provided. So a tip means you're tipping them for good service. And nowadays tips are typically, ironically that it's a tip typically, 15% is what we like to tip people. And that's what's required. So in most restaurants, they actually add it to your to one of the things that you have, and you can actually pick a button on how much you want to actually do as a tip. So you could be 10%, 15%, 20%, or whatever you like, or a certain cash amount. It doesn't have to be a percentage. But typically, if there's anyone asking about a tip and what percentage we give, it's usually 15% for those tips. Then, which types of people would get a tip? Well, if we need to take a taxi, people that work in the hotels, cooks, servers, so restaurant workers, delivery drivers, so the guys that bring you your pizza or fast food, so delivery drivers, waitresses, okay, so waitress, cooks, you could be a barista, okay, working at a coffee bar, a hairstylist, or even cosmetology and nail tech. Okay, so a cosmetologist, a nail technician. So those people make an hourly wage, just like number 1, plus they get a tip for doing a good service. Then we have number 3. Number 3 is salary. Now, salary is usually government jobs, government type jobs. And what kind of jobs are government jobs? Well, that would be like they're showing firefighters, teachers, doctors, and some doctors are actually going to get paid by contract as well. So it's not just salary, it's a contract and you get a salary based on your contract. So it's kind of both. Then we've got police officers, mechanics. So it depends on what kind of mechanic, because it's not really a government job, but a lot of oil field workers make salaries. Okay. So what it talks about as a salary, that is a fixed payment. So you usually get it, it's expressed every year. That means that you take a yearly sum and they're going to divide it every month or every 2 weeks. Okay, so that's usually when people get paid, is every month or every 2 weeks. Then we've got number 4, which is called commission. Now, commission is a payment based on a percentage of your sales. So, types of jobs that have sales. Who sells things? Well, a real estate agent. They sell homes or land. Okay. Then we get car salesmen. We also get anything with a motor. So, if you have a motorbike, so motorbike salespeople. Also, the people that you're buying your ATVs or your quads, your side by sides, those kinds of things. Those are all going to be different sales people. Okay. So that would be commission. So sometimes commission people get actually sometimes they only get commission and sometimes they get a combination of it. So sometimes they could get a small salary plus a commission. So it depends on the job. The next one is royalty. So number 5, royalty, that says it's a piece of work that is marketed and sold. And it's based on the percent of your sales again. And this is on percent of sales. So who would this apply to? Well, any of the musicians out there, every song you hear on the radio, when they're playing those radio songs, each of those musicians or the writers of those songs, they're each going to get what's called a royalty based on the percent of those sales. So if we say every radio station in Alberta plays a certain song, if there's 15 radio stations playing that song on that one day, that those people that created that song are going to get whatever, it's 2 cents or 5 cents. It's not very much because songs get played lots on the radio. So that's why it's not very much per song. That's why it's called a percent of what the actual sales are. Now, if it's radio and stuff like that, that would be how much music and how often they're playing it. So who would else get paid like that? So an author. So if you're writing books, so if you're a poet, those kinds of people. Who else? Well, we would have artists. So artists could also get paid this way. How about number 6? Number 6 is called piecework. Now, piecework is a payment based on the number of items created or completed. For example, a cable TV installer, he's going to come and give you new cable TV or optic TV. They're getting paid by piecework or even a contract. Also, a sewing machine operator. So if you're hiring them to sew a couple different things, they're going to get paid based on what they're sewing for you. So for example, maybe you had 3 skirts that needed to be hemmed. Then you would hem those skirts, and that would be what you would get paid for those 3 skirts. So different types of things we would find for this is farmer's market. So you'll find farmer's market. So if you're selling, it could be foods, it could be items. People you'll see at farmer's markets sell all kinds of things like jewelry, homemade clothing or clothes that they make at their house, those kinds of things. So you'll see all kinds of things. So farmer's market, typically for sure. Also artists, you can commission them to create you something and they can pay you as piecework. So you can pay them per item that they create for you. Now contract. The last one is a contract. This is a payment for a fixed period of time with a fixed amount of money. So it's one or the other or both. For example, an electrical contractor, so you're an electrician. If you're doing renovations in your house, and let's say you need to have your electrician come in and run some new, make some new plugins for you, some new switches, that would be based on a contract. He would, however many days and however many hours he's at your house, you'll pay him for that amount of time. So that would be a contract. Also, professional athletes. Any professional athlete, they're based on a contract. And again, their contract could be a salary. They get a monthly salary, or maybe it's weekly or biweekly. So again, professional athletes like hockey players, baseball players, football players, all those kinds of people, okay? And that would include golfing. But golfing would also include, you would also get prize money for a lot of that stuff. And so that's a different one. We call those ones when people get sponsors. So that's number 8 if we get sponsors. So you're going to notice that some people get a sponsor so that they can do, maybe they can travel with their team and it gets paid for, that kind of thing. So a sponsor pays your way, okay? They pay for everything so that you're able to do your sport. So we see this a lot with the Olympics. Okay, where they've got lots of sponsors. You might also see it with professional athletes. Maybe it's Nike. They hire a certain athlete and they say, well, we're going to give you free shoes for the rest of your life as long as you do this advertisement for us on TV. You never know. Maybe it's on the radio. It could be on social media, but those would be sponsor type things. These would be over and above. This would be above, which means more than your normal pay. Okay, so this is more than your normal paycheck. So if you're getting paid by a royalty, the sponsor would pay you above that. If it's commission, this is on top of that. Okay, so sponsors are completely different, and only um, certain types of jobs would have sponsors, and they're usually people that are athletes. Most of these ones for sponsors, most of them are athletes. And if it's not an athlete, it could also be for charity. You see a lot of charity events, okay? And they use sponsors to raise money. So charities raise money for a charity cause. And that concludes lesson 1 of the ways we get paid.